every music would need its own very short introduction. Every music is different, but every music is music, too. There is a level at which you can talk of music, and I can write this very short introduction, but it isn't the ABC level. To talk about music in general is to talk about what music means, and, more basically, how it is, how it can be, that music operates as an agent of meaning. For music isn't just something nice to listen to. On the contrary, it's deeply embedded in human culture. Just as there isn't a culture that doesn't have language, so there isn't one that doesn't have music. Music somehow seems to be natural, to exist as something apart, and yet it is suffused with human values, with our sense of what is good or bad, right or wrong. Music doesn't just happen, it is what we make it, and what we make of it. People think through music, decide who they are through it, express themselves through it. So this book is as much about thinking about music as it is about music. And it is also about the social and institutional structures that condition thinking about music. The book begins with an individual, domestic response to music, with a television commercial and the different associations and connotations that give it meaning, and ends with a snapshot of how people are thinking and writing about music in today's academic world. As George Miller, my editor at Oxford University Press, put it, it is at this point that a gang of musicologists turn up and take over. In focusing the final chapter on issues of music and gender, I don't want to give the impression that musicologists have sex on the brain, but there has long been an academic tradition of thinking of music as purely musical, as being about nothing but itself, which has created a general impression among everyone except musicologists that in that case music can't matter very much. More than anything, it is the study of music and gender that has put music's worldly meaning back on the musicological map, and so led musicology, in a word, out of the closet. And, of course, music does matter. If I didn't believe it, I wouldn't have written this book. And if you didn't believe it, you wouldn't be listening to this sentence. Rather than being something apart, music is in the very midst of things. In fact, it is less a something than a way of knowing the world, a way of being ourselves, though, as I shall explain in Chapter 4, the metaphor of music being a kind of object is built deep into its history. You might almost say that music isn't a something until, by thinking and writing about it, we turn it into one. If that sounds a bit paradoxical, the reason is that it is a bit paradoxical. Maybe Elvis Costello, if it was Elvis Costello, had a point when he said that writing about music is like dancing about architecture. But the point is that we do it all the same. We use words to say what music cannot say, to say what we mean by music, what music means to us. And in the end, it is largely words that determine what music does mean to us. That is perhaps the only real justification for writing anything about music, even a very short introduction. But, short as it is, a book with as broad a scope as this exceeds the bounds of any individual's expertise. At least, it exceeds the bounds of mine. Whatever mistakes may remain, my thanks to Mark Everest, Matthew Head, Roger Parker, Robin Stilwell, and Jonathan Stock, without whom there would have been more of them. Nicholas Cook. Chapter 1. Musical Values. A television commercial. I want to be a musician. Those are the opening words in a television commercial for Prudential Pension Plans, which was being